This is a moment in Jewish history. You know, my grandparents never went to university. It wasn't so common for Jewish people to attend a university, and those that did had a hard time living Jewish lives. When I went to university, there was Hillel and other campus groups, and even some classes on Jewish subjects. But throughout most of Jewish history, universities were off limits. Today in Israel, there are 10 universities and over 50 colleges. Last week, I featured Albert Einstein, who was a co-founder of Hebrew University in Jerusalem, and the podcast before that was on Chaim Weizmann, one of the other co-founders. It was the dream of Jewish people to create universities of their own in the land of Israel, since at least as far back as the World Zionist Congress in 1897. But first, let's review the history of Jews in universities in general. Jewish people have always valued education and taught their children Hebrew prayers, studied at yeshiva, and produced rabbis and scholars. But Jews were usually banned from earning degrees or even setting foot into academies of higher learning. The oldest still functioning university in the English-speaking world is Oxford in the United Kingdom. It did not allow Jews entry for about 500 years. Interestingly, the land upon which Oxford's first college was built was sold by a man called Jacob the Jew, and one of the deeds for the property was written in Hebrew. Some Jews were admitted, providing that they convert to Christianity first. This changed with the Enlightenment period, and Jewish people were finally allowed to attend universities. However, there were still many restrictions, both on Jewish students and Jewish professors. Even in the United States, which was founded on values of freedom, Jewish Americans faced quotas and other restrictions. By the 1920s, many Jewish people were seeking higher education, and quite a few universities enacted numerous clauses, closed numbers, so that there wouldn't be too many Jews on campus. Notably, Harvard University, the oldest institution of higher learning in the United States, put a cap on how many Jewish students could attend. Yale University restricted Jewish enrollments, which officially lasted all the way until the 1960s. Dr. Hermann Schapira is credited as the first to publicly propose creating a Jewish university in the land of Israel. He was a mathematician at the University of Heidelberg. After the pogroms in Russia in 1881, he joined the Hovevei Tzion movement. The following year, he wrote a letter to Haaretz newspaper proposing a Jewish institute of higher learning. He called for a great Beit Midrash academy, probably somewhere near Jerusalem, which would have different departments that would teach both religious subjects as well as agriculture, biology, and mathematics. It is necessary to establish a large, sophisticated institution that will spread high learning, wisdom, and literacy to every household in Beit Yisrael, he wrote. He proposed his Hebrew University idea at the First Zionist Congress in 1897. Dr. Schapira was also the person who came up with the concept of the Jewish National Fund well before the organization was officially formed, and proposed that Jewish people purchase land and plant trees in Israel, collecting donations with little blue charity boxes. Today, Dr. Schapira's portrait can be seen on the Hebrew University campus, along with that of Chaim Weizmann and Albert Einstein. However, Hebrew University was not technically the first to be founded in Israel. The Bezalel Academy of Art and Design in Jerusalem was founded in 1906. You can check out my previous podcast about that, but that was not conceived to be a full-fledged university. It was at the Fifth Zionist Congress that plans were made to establish an engineering school. It eventually became the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology. The three initiators of the idea were Dr. Chaim Weizmann, who himself was a chemist, journalist Berthold Feivel, and the famous philosopher Martin Buber. If you can read German, then you can look up on archive.org their 1902 pamphlet entitled Eine Jüdische Hochschule, or the Jewish University. In it, Martin Buber states, "For the youth of our people, the university would be a most precious gift, not hindered by restrictions, freed from hatred of Jews. They would not only collect knowledge, but learn to use it, each to his own way, for the Jewish nation and for the service of its future. There is no doubt that the existence and prosperity of a Palestinian university would greatly increase and strengthen the confidence of all Jews in the world in the possibility of establishing a homeland. Haifa was chosen to be the location for the new school to be called the Technicum. The cornerstone was laid in 1912, and as mentioned in last week's episode, Albert Einstein planted a tree at the site of the future university, and it still stands today. The Technicum was renamed Technion, and its first classes opened in 1924. One of the first sources of funding was from Kalonymus Zev Wysocki. Yes, the guy that founded the tea company. In fact, you might have some Wysocki tea in your cabinet right now. He bequeathed his fortune to charitable causes, of which 100,000 rubles were used to found the Technion. Today, the Technion has become world-renowned for its research. 3 Nobel Prizes in chemistry have been awarded to professors there. The Hebrew University cornerstone was laid in Jerusalem in 1918. It was built on Mount Scopus, a hill overlooking Jerusalem, known in Hebrew as Har HaSofim. It is mentioned by the Roman historian Josephus in his book Antiquities of the Jews as the site where Alexander the Great met the Kohen Gadol. It is also mentioned in the Mishnah, and the cave of Nicanor, the gate maker of the Holy Temple, was discovered there along with other artifacts. This discovery was found on the estate of Sir John Edward Grey Hill, an Englishman. The Grey Hill Villa, as it was called, was purchased by him for his wife Caroline, a painter and early photographer. His large and magnificent property was acquired by the World Zionist Organization to establish Hebrew University. After World War I and the defeat of the Ottoman Empire by the British, the cornerstone ceremony finally took place in 1918 on the Jewish holiday of Tu B'Av. It attracted dignitaries from far and wide. Over 6,000 people attended, including British High Commissioner Sir Herbert Samuel, General Allenby, Zev Jabotinsky, Chaim Weizmann, Lord Balfour, and the Mufti of Jerusalem, Kamel al-Husseini, as well as the Anglican bishop, and more. Foundation stones were laid in the name of Zionism and in the name of the Hebrew army, although General Allenby of the British forces did not allow the soldiers of the Hebrew battalion to participate. The song Hatikva was sung, as well as the British national anthem, God Save the King. Chaim Weizmann wrote of the occasion, "The scenic setting of the ceremony had a sublime beauty that is unforgettable. The setting sun bathed the mountains of Judah and Moab in a golden glow. It seems to me that the mountains, which had changed their shape, looked on in amazement and perhaps guessed that this was the beginning of the return of their children." Over the next several years, the university raised funds, purchased land, constructed buildings, and recruited top educators from around the world. Meanwhile, in Europe, anti-Jewish riots were taking place. In Romania, Jews were banned from the University of Bucharest, while in Hungary, numerous clauses limited the amount of Jewish students allowed. In 1924, the Institute of Chemistry opened, and later that year, the Institute of Jewish Studies was inaugurated during Hanukkah. At a special ceremony, Chancellor Judah Magnes recited the Shechachianu blessing and stated, "We want a university to be a place where all sciences as well as general humanities are studied." The next year, the official opening of the university began with a gala celebration attended by more than 10,000 people, with letters of congratulation from around the world. The keynote speakers included Chief Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak Kook. Other speakers included Lord Balfour, Sir Herbert Samuel, and the poet Chaim Nachman Bialik. A news article from April 1925 described it as follows. A scene recalling an ancient biblical custom was enacted when Dr. Judah Magnes, the dean of the university, read the record of the exercises in Hebrew on a parchment, commemorating the events. The documents, which were then buried under the foundation stone, read like a chapter of the Bible. Judah Magnes was concerned that, unlike how Jewish people were treated in Europe, the new university should be accepting to all people. He stated, We are expecting to invite, both as teachers and students, not only Jews, but our Muslim cousins as well. And we also want to create an Institute of Comparative Religions. In general, I think it is well to say that our university is open to all men and women, irrespective of creed, race, nationality, or social station. And you may be interested to know that there have been many applications from Arab students for admission to our university. Indeed, among the many notable guests that day were Ahmed Lufti El Sayed, rector of the Egyptian University. Invitations were printed in both Hebrew and Arabic. Yet Arab residents staged a boycott in protest. Black flags flew from balconies, Lord Balfour was denounced, and newspapers called for a day of mourning. Yet for most it was a day of celebration. The poet Bialik spoke the following words during his address to the crowds. "Gentlemen, thousands of our young men, listening to the voice in their hearts, are flocking from all corners of the earth to this land to redeem it from its desolation and ruin. They are ready to pour out all the burden of their souls and hearts and to empty all their strength of their youth into the bosom of this ruined land in order to revive it. We must also kindle this holy fire within the walls of the house that has just been opened here on Mount Scopus. For you, O Lord, are a kindling fire, and with fire you will build it." Today, Hebrew University has over 25,000 students from Israel and around the world, mostly of Jewish Israeli backgrounds, but like its founders envisioned, from all walks of life. 8 Nobel Prizes have been awarded to professors from Hebrew University. And today, there are 10 fully accredited universities in Israel, including Bar Ilan, Tel Aviv University, the University of Haifa, Ben Gurion University of the Negev, the Open University, Ariel University, and Reichman University. But the founding of those institutions is a story for another day. This has been a moment in Jewish history. I am your host, Ben Bresky, and for questions or comments and past shows, you can check out benbresky.substack.com. Thank you to all the listeners, and Shalom.